Brent Schmidt, and I'm happy to be hosting the panel today. Each month, our goal is to present academic research solutions and how they might be commercialized.
As a service provider talking to a lot of tech startups, there are a lot of them that think that they have the only game in town, and I think taking a real hard look at what your competition is and who's out there, and a broad look on that as to who can be competition and the people that can just change direction slightly and become your competition, although they're not now. I think you have to look at that very critically.
Yeah, David Strook's my name. As you mentioned, I'm with the Stratford Accelerator Center. I used to run a software company in Waterloo called Navtech for many years, and since then I've been doing a lot of mentoring and guiding of technology startups in the region through the Accelerator Center in Waterloo.
I'm, as you said earlier, the chair of the Fine Arts Department, but I'm an art historian by training, so I spend a lot of time looking at images and analyzing images.
ImageMAT is essentially a web-based image annotation tool. Let's say you have an image of a rose, you can annotate the different petals of the rose, you can annotate the entire rose and mark it up in different shapes and different colors. You can then save it, and you save it to your own library. Ultimately and potentially you could create a very large database.
In this case, they actually were trying to solve somebody's problem, which is good, and I think that will help them get on the right path. So that's one difference that we oftentimes see out of academia, and oftentimes there are a number of examples of projects that got going out of the University of Waterloo that struggled for quite a period of time because they didn't realize that they had to solve a different problem. And it's not something just pure scientific, they actually have to solve a user's problem. I see lots of people come in with what they think are great ideas that solved one person's problem or a friend's problem, but then when they start to go through a market validation exercise, they realize that the market really isn't that big.
One of the key things is to ensure that you have non-disclosure agreements at the appropriate time through your growth and your development. And the key thing there is to make sure that everybody that you engage along the way, whether they're employees, they're consultants, however you engage them, but to be sure that you have an assignment of any intellectual property that they have developed for you, either to you personally or to a company, even better yet. And that way there's a clear line in the sand that although they may have developed it and they may have rights in that IP because they've actually created it, that it's being assigned to you because you're paying for it.
I can see this working in a number of ways. As you work on medieval manuscripts, I get quite a few questions from, for example, Sotheby's and Christie's when they're trying to authenticate works of art, usually mostly drawings, and some of the materials are really obscure. And again, it's a situation of going back and forth. Now, this kind of program could facilitate that enormously. So there's a potential within the art market, I think, as well.
I guess when you're talking about downloading images off the web into image maps and using it that way, I guess you just have to be careful on IP infringement issues and making sure that people that are using ImageMAP aren't infringing third parties' IP rights that they have in the images that they're downloading. That was the one comment I wanted to make on the discussion that was happening earlier.
I just wanted to get everyone to close, 30 seconds or less. What's a key take home for you?
I really learned is that the community in Kitchener-Waterloo Stratford has a lot to offer in terms of help, so I will be taking advantage of it.
One of the bigger pitfalls is to assume that you can sign the IP waiver and assignment and not pay anything for it. And there is, as well, there's a lot of belief that sweat equity is okay. And it is okay for founders. But when you have a true third-party employee who's getting only options and not getting any pay, that is contrary to legislation in Ontario, believe it or not. And a lot of startups find that surprising, because everybody does it. And you can do it as long as you get away with it. But if somebody makes a complaint to an employment standards officer, you will find yourself paying them at least minimum wage for the services that they provided. You really can't contract out of that.
that this is a great platform for collaboration and sharing and getting a lot of the information that we have stashed away in our offices out and being used by other people effectively.
I think the next step for Christine would be to start to really focus on a market validation exercise, going through some of the things I said off the top, looking at the value proposition of it, what the differentiating features are, and some of those things, looking at pricing and getting to market and those sort of questions. And certainly there's many resources around the community, not the least of which is the Stratford Accelerator Center that people like Christine and others can utilize. So
I was going to say that the key thing is always to be sure to protect your IP, and be sure to make sure your house is in order. David commented about the fact that there are angel networks, there are investors willing to invest in startups and help them get to the next level. There's a lineup at their door of people that need money and want to get to the next level. And if your house is in order as a startup, basic things like making sure your minute book's in order, you have your NDA signed, you have your employment agreement signed, you have your IP assignment signed by all your employees and contractors. If all those basic things are in order, you're one step ahead of some other startups, then you're more likely to be the next person that people finance or see as an acquisition target.
And please visit commercelab.ca for more information on upcoming Hangouts. And if you have suggestions for featured speakers or topics, please share them with us. We'd be happy to dig into those topics with you.